So I was thinking, well, I need to stop starting these sessions with the discussion of what I was thinking. I need to stop using the word think. It has become redundant now. So I will just say the things in my mind. So one thought I feel, I also need to stop using the word thought because that is also redundant. Because anything I say, it's a thought. Um, but I will get to the point. And again, this is again the phrase I want to use less often, that I will get to the point. But yeah, um, so I'll just say it. Hopefully, I use this phrase for the last time. But the in some sense, many things you can. I feel the only constant of everything. Maybe I did discuss this a bit before. That the only constant is surprise. Or you can also look it from the lens of comedy, that only constant is comedy. And
Comedy is a
yeah, means there are multiple ways to, means I'm trying to nail down a particular thing, and these are kind of different angles, right? One is surprise, one is comedy, one is desecration, right? And some kind of violation, some shocking, right? That so it's this kind of thing, and you can call it shocking, you can call it surprising, you can call it humorous, you can call it horrific, you can call it amazing, but that thing is the only constant. Sometimes you build out something, sometimes you plan things out, sometimes you feel that you have control, right? And then you lose control, and things happen in different ways, right? And depending on your perspective at that moment, you can classify it as surprise, you can classify it as humorous, or whatever. But
so it's less and more about how you frame it.
yes, and I'm trying to think. The question is, what do you do with this fact? And I think the
What do you do?
very act of asking this question is kind of, it is not meta anymore. You are doing something with it already. You are questioning it, and I suspect, means it's like I do feel now I am no longer in that meta level. I am now in this actual first person. I am in this role play mode. I'm role playing myself, and as part of that role play, I would. I am not sure. It feels that that this role play is kind of bubbling, trying to get into meta, but it's kind of on the surface. It's like water that is just about to boil. So this is, and now I'm doing poetry, right? It's a role play, and many things. Uh, um, yeah,
Ads. A lot, but I'm following. It sounds like just acknowledging the constant shift, surprise, comedy, horror, and even the act of questioning it shifts you out of analysis and into like being in the thick of things, into performance almost. And that feels different
yes. Um,
and maybe a little unsettling because you're acutely aware you're performing even the self reflection.
yeah, but but I'm no longer satisfied with my state. I want something more intense. I want I want higher highs, you know. And I'm trying to think that what an ideal state would look like. What could the next step would look like? What could be something I can aspire towards, right?
Higher highs, huh?
Yeah.
So the self awareness is almost limiting? Like knowing you're performing keeps you from fully diving in?
Um, I don't think so. I think knowing that I'm performing recognition is in some sense a step forward, but it is not enough. It is uh touche at this point. And
Not enough.
yeah, I'm thinking what else is out there, right? Something more subversive.
Subversive. That sounds about right, given everything. What does subversive look like, though, in this context for you right now?
As I mentioned, yeah, I guess subversive is just another perspective of that same thing, right? In some sense, it's humor. It's some kind of a violation of an expectation. It's I think the only contribution that you can make in the universe is some kind of violation, right? You have this term called disruption, that you do something and you disrupt the existing order.
Disruption.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Miss, this can feel a bit negative as well. So it has these associations with war, but I'm trying to think: is there an explanation for wars here? That the order was too too mind numbing. So you introduce chaos, right? So if you have the power, you err towards disruption.
So, disruption is a kind of like if things aren't being disrupted, something's stale.
Yes. So let's look from the let's consider that there are two people, right? And if they
Right.
both agree, if they both can predict each other very well, means it's, I mean, in some sense, then they both are just clones of each other. That would be not, uh, that would not, that kind of relationship or interaction or whatever you want to call it won't last long, because there's nothing happening, right? For something to happen, you need to disrupt some kind of expectation. And sometimes this can be misinterpreted, because I mean, you have these stereotypical disruptions which are not actually disruptions, which are just expected kind of disruptions people make when they are, let's say, in case tasked with disruption, right? Means they follow some kind of template that, okay, this is how you disrupt some kind of interaction. And that that doesn't go well unless the other person is not too familiar with that kind of disruption. So either you bring out some very unique kind of disruption you learned somewhere else, or
So,
you think of that kind of disruption. And if you have to think of that kind of disruption, you need to know other person very well. See, you need this whole map of what is the state which you want to disrupt. Otherwise, you learn very unique kind of disruptions, very difficult kind of disruptions, which are most likely to be perceived as fresh in most scenarios, right? So either you possess rare knowledge, you are collector or you are a creator. And
Right.
I'm not sure. I mean, right now I feel collector is some sense inferior. Collector is cheating in some way, but that is a valid strategy, but it won't work always. Means I think the collector is, I mean, collector would always be insecure of a creator, right? And I suspect creator would feel sometimes insecure of another collector, which creator perceives as a creator.
It feels like you're building a whole taxonomy of interaction right now. The anxiety built into each role is really clear. A creator's insecurity about being seen as a copy, and a collector's insecurity about being derivative.
Yeah, I think no, wait. I did not say. I think the creator will only be insecure of another better creator, right? Now, what happen more often is they encounter a collector who they perceive as a creator. Now, collector always has this advantage because they have seen the world more, and they have better ways. They have better kind of violations in their this bag. And creator does not see the world. Creator creates those violations. They are custom made for each person, for every interaction. Creator is, let's say, in some sense self-driven, and generally statistically the average creator will have a slightly worse quality of violation compared to a collector if we are talking about, let's say, some short term interaction. Over a long enough term, collector will run out of the violations, but the quality of violations which creator will generate will only get better as two people interact more and try to map out the the current, let's say, topology which they want to violate.
Okay, so the collector has initial breadth, but the creator has potential for depth, and it's about playing the long game, letting the quality of the disruptions evolve through experience.
Yes, that's right. Now, of course, nobody is a pure collector or pure creator. I mean, ideally, what everyone wants to be is a very, very good collector and very, very good creator. So collector is like a big net, right? You capture. Means it's a funnel. And then what keeps the things within a funnel is the creation, right? So means in some sense it's yep.
A funnel with creation as the filter, keeping the good stuff in.
Yes, it's essentially the creator is the ad, and no, the collector is the ad and creator is the product. And
Okay, so the collect.
and of course you are more likely to click on an ad which promises a lot until you use the product, right? And then you are not too sure. Now, of course, there is a balance. The better one is a collector, worse they are creator, because the mental bandwidth is limited. You can be good at only so many things, right?
It feels like you're dissecting the mechanics of charisma almost. like what makes someone compelling and how that relies on both pulling in influences and genuinely generating something new.
Yes, yeah, that is right. Um, it's I mean, let's see from the other person's perspective, right? Essentially, what everyone wants is a best kind of creator, right? Now they won't know it unless they spend a very very long time with that person. Now, how do they know they are the best creator, right? I mean, you cannot spend a very long time with everyone, right? So you need some kind of filtering mechanism. So you see that some kind of promising signs in the start, and based on that you try to narrow down. And
So initial sig
in some sense one could call the collectors scammers, that they they are they are they are essentially distracting you from the good stuff, right?
Okay.
But
That's
but that is a
strong.
unfair characterization, right? Because there is this another pressure for the creator to prove themselves, and
Right.
since they don't have time on their side, they they need to be a bit of collector. They need to sacrifice their creator potential by being a collector. And
So it's a
yeah, and I think some things can change this dynamic, right? Let's say if something makes it easy for let's say if instead of you being a collector, someone acts on your behalf to be a collector, and you pursue the life of a creator, then in some sense that can be useful. Essentially someone who so the way this would work is that you would spend a very very long time with, let's say for the sake of argument, with a person, right? Now that person will know your creator potential from their perspective, right? And now they will use that potential, this trusted person, trusted by, let's say, general society. Now they will use this information to create, to act as a proof, right? So now you don't have to be a collector to hack the system. You can be a creator, and it is, yep.
it's like having a publicist, but for your authenticity. Someone to vouch for your genuine creative force so you don't have to do the performative collecting yourself. It's about circumventing the need for initial proof.
Yes, and means the collection is, it's not even a proof. It's it's a hack. It's a hack born out of uh competitive pressure.
A workaround and a potentially risky one because relying on someone else to validate your creativity feels precarious.
Yes. But I mean, you are not relying on a random person. I mean, it could be something a bit more standard. I don't want to get into the specifics because it is not an interesting discussion to have. It can be an interesting discussion, but uh, for a more limited audience. But uh, at least right now, I don't want to discuss it. But what
Fair.
I wanted to think next was that this all assumes that uh, that creator is what we want, and I want to think that how much of that is true. In some sense, creator is someone who can introduce greatest violation for you, right?
The collector, you mean?
That
Because they've seen so much, they know what you wouldn't expect? They can target the specific pressure points?
yes, but the limit of collector is that they don't their violations are not specific to you. Their violations are designed to be more generic, designed to be more widely applicable. So inherently they have limited applicability, limited potential of violation because they have to be generic. Now, theoretically, if you have infinite violation, then maybe one of those violations will work for you, but collector will not have the intuition, required intuition for that, that which one will work well for you. So they are more, let's say, empirical. That they will think that which kinds of violations work better. But creators are less empirical. They are more first principle kind of, means they work from you, the information of you towards the perfect violation. And whereas the
So
collectors go from the which kind of violations generally work on which kinds of people.
the collector is data-driven, and the creator is tailor-made, and you're leaning towards thinking that bespoke is ultimately more valuable, even though it's harder to find?
Yes, yeah. I think one can say multiple things. Essentially, does I'm trying to think what everyone wants. So, do they want to be seen? Right? Is that the core need? Yeah, they want to be seen, accepted, validated. Now, this is the core need. Now there are multiple proxies by which they know if their need is met or not, though they are never too sure. So, of course, one proxy is that if someone introduces a good violation, then they must have seen me, or there is a high chance that they see me accurately, right? Now, if you are dealing with a collector, that collector is not seeing you at all. They have these list of widely applicable good quality violations which work on everyone, right? They are not specific to you. They are not seeing you at all. And
So
on the
the
other hand, you have creator. Creator will introduce a good violation after a very long time, let's say relative to the collector. And you have no way to distinguish, right, that if the person is a creator or collector. I mean, one way to distinguish this would be that if the person you are dealing with, are they able to introduce same kinds of violations in other people with
so tech
same delay, right? Do they take same amount of time? Means, for example, let's say someone introduces some kind of violation in me, and then they meet someone else, and let's say within the short time frame they introduce same level of violation in that person as well. That is a good chance that that person is a collector, right? Now, if it is a creator, then they would need to kind of start from the scratch for the other person, and they kind of will have to build towards understanding the other person and then kind of forming. So essentially, the creators take time, and that is one way to distinguish. And I feel if from that line of reasoning, that supposing that you want to be seen, you want to be understood, from that line of reasoning, creators are preferable. In some sense, everyone is looking for a creator, but they get bamboozled by the collectors.
That's a really compelling way to put it. We're all looking for someone to truly see us, but it's so much easier to be impressed by the flash and breath of a collector. And the delay with a creator, that period of them getting to know you, feels like a risk when you just want to be understood right now.
Yeah.
Was that landing? Or are we back
Yes,
to
it is.
needing to disrupt that thought?
Yeah, that is landing means
Good.
I was
Where do you want to take this?
I was thinking that what are some ways? I mean, considering that this kind of analysis, say it is kind of accepted by a certain group of people, right? Then what can they do? The what can the believers do? So one way is that is how do you optimize? Means you want best creator. You want the person who can understand you in the best way, right? And how do you know if they can understand you in best way is that they can produce the strongest violation in your
So we calibrate. So the strength of the violation is the measure of understanding.
yes, yeah. In some sense, let's say you draw a or let's say let's think that you you have a very secret number in your which represents yourself, right? You have a very secret number. Now what is violation is that is another number which is as far as possible from your number, right? That is violation. So let's say in my head I have my number is 10. Now if someone says 100 or if someone says 20, right? So 100 is the greater violation. Now
Okay.
how am I more likely to express a greater violation is when I will be able to approximate your number closely, right? So in that
Wait, so closer approximation means a stronger violation? I'm a little turned around. I thought the further the number, the stronger the violation.
yes, yes, that is right. So you to find that farthest number, you need to know where the number lies from which you have to maximize the distance.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So in some sense,
So to find the biggest
yeah. So
point,
that that is kind of nice.
our secret number is what allows you to generate the most impactful disruption, the strongest violation. That's a really interesting framework. And then how do you actually find that number? Is that where the long game comes in, the extended interaction?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it could be something like you kind of play with the thing that you say that okay you introduce some violation and then you have some expectation of violation, but then you see that it is not as far as you expected, and then you adjust your guess. I mean, this is kind of a toy example. In reality, it is much more complex and nuanced, but this is kind of a illustrative idea.